The Dating Show, brought to you by olderdatingonline.com.
Now, this dating lark is a bit similar to life, isn't it? Because it's sort of you're making decisions the whole time. And, you know, do I like this person? I've been on a first date. Do I want to see them again? It's like decision after decision after decision. This is all about how you make those decisions. So how do you decide whether you're going to see somebody after the first date, how you're going to meet them for the first time as a woman, Leigh-Ann?
I have thought about this endlessly for years, you know, because I've been on so many dates and I've had to make so many decisions. But all I do want to say is that I have now regretted letting go of some people on the first date, because I've been on first dates with certain men. They've done something that I didn't like, or they weren't quite what I was expecting. That initial spark, that chemistry, the rom-com romance I was looking for sort of didn't exist, and I just left it and walked away and went on other dates, where really, in hindsight, I think you should always give people another chance.
So you've been on a date with somebody and they've had jeans on that you didn't quite like, or, you know, they held their glass in a certain way that you thought, a bit limp-handed there, not quite what I'm after. And so you walked away. But then later on you've come back and thought, actually, I've seen that guy again, and really, I should have given him another chance.
Yeah, definitely. So I've let go of people for small things, like you said, maybe a piece of clothing, maybe for something they said, maybe I didn't agree with something that they agreed with. You know, there was sort of conflicting views there, and I just thought, actually, it's not worth it. And then later on, I've realised that actually there's personality that comes out. It's not that initial, you know, you're not all looking to be hit by a lightning bolt. Give that person a chance. They might have a great sense of humour. They might be really intelligent, be interested in something you are. Don't just knock it dead after the first go.
And it is difficult to assess somebody on the first date, isn't it? I mean, you've got maybe an hour, 2 hours, maybe a little bit more, but, you know, in that sort of time, you're not really going to see the full picture.
And also, you're stressed and you're a bit nervous, and sometimes the best of you doesn't really come out, and maybe you would have had a few drinks, or, you know, there would be something going on in the background. So I just think, you know, relating to all of that, but I will say, if you do go on a first date, like I went on a first date once, and the guy was chewing gum. He stuck the gum underneath the table we were sitting on in a really fancy restaurant.
No.
I got up and I walked out, and I never saw him again. But I just thought, actually, no.
Well, I think that's quite acceptable, isn't
I think
it?
that's acceptable.
That shows a lack of manners, doesn't it? But, yeah, there are sort of extremes. But the research you've got there as well builds on this, doesn't it? Because it's saying that, I think, along the lines of most people, when they meet for the first time, you know, the chance of you really fancying that person, despite the fact you've seen their profile and everything else, is quite small. But a lot of people would still go on a second date, even if they didn't fancy them when they met them for the first time. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So research that's come out says 59% of people, which I think is quite high, you know, they're single, but they would go on a second date even if they didn't feel those butterflies and that immediate connection straight away. And I think this is just another sign that, you know, people do want to give love a chance, and they do want to see more of that person after a first date, unless they stuck gum under the table. But and also another thing that was really interesting, they say people, as soon as they see a picture of someone, fancy them straight away through that picture. But you might meet that person and they might not be what you expect in that picture.
Yeah.
But give them a chance, you know, because I would always say this. My boyfriend and I were both single. If I'd seen a picture of him, I probably wouldn't have dated him. But when I met him, it's just the truth. But when I met him, he was wonderful. He had this great personality and all this charisma. And, you know, we went on 3 or 4 dates before I was actually 1,000,000% sure. So I think that's important.
Yeah, and that's going back to what we were talking about earlier, because if you'd just seen a photo, you wouldn't have met him. But after the first date, you were still and it took 3 or 4 for you to sort of see his golden light, as it were.
Well, I think that was because I was seeing someone else, but
yeah, well,
no.
we don't want to know about that. Right. Yeah, well, that's all interesting stuff. So the basic message is, give people a chance.
100%, unless, there's nothing there when you meet them and it feels quite awkward and you're just not sure and there's no eye contact and there's nothing in common. But if there's something there and you're not 100% sure but you think they might possibly be, just go again, and then if not, just walk away.
That is great advice. Thanks, Leigh-Ann.
Thanks.
The Dating Show, brought to you by olderdatingonline.com.